hello, ladies. Welcome to the Daughters of Destiny. You got this, and Happy New Year to you as we begin a new year, January, and I am so excited. I could not wait to get back to this point and this moment. Listen, I want to send a shout out to all of our newbies. If this is your first time, let us know, because we want to send a warm welcome to you. And as we get forward, guys, with our special guest, I want to send a shout out to Bishop, who constantly encourage, and also send a shout out to Minister J, who make things happen to make us look good. Okay. We have on today our special guest, Elder Fran Futrell, and I am so glad that she's here on today. And you guys already seen the flyer of what we want to talk about. Is dealing with mental health. We begin the new year with dealing with mental health on today. Now, Elder Fran, it is so good to have you here as always, honey.
I'm so thankful to be here.
Yes. Give us a little 2 minutes of introducing yourself, because you can do it better than I can.
Well, I am Fran Futrell. I am a licensed professional counselor. I also serve in ministry as a licensed elder. I'm so very thankful to be here today to share with you on this topic. I think mental health, especially in this day and time, is something that we need to be addressing, not just secularly, but in the body of Christ, because so many believers are having a difficult time adjusting to what's happening in the world right now. And I really believe that they just need resources. They just need somebody to understand. They just need things that will be helpful for them as they navigate this space in time. And I'm thankful for the understanding that God has given me about how to merge the two things, because so often I've seen it happen in ministry or spiritual or church settings where we separate mental health from our spirituality. But if you know anything about our faith, we know that they go hand in hand, because the basis of our faith as believers is that we believe with our mind.
That's it.
Belief starts in your mind. And so one of the things that I really try to encourage people with is to just make sure, hey, we're taking care of all the parts of who we are. They all are important. God made every part of who we are to work together in tandem so we can operate and do what he has called us to do, because that's really what it's about when we get down to it. So that's where my heart is. I love helping build the kingdom, especially in the field of mental health.
Y'all, she has written a book. It's called Counseling is Not a Bad Word. And connect. I'm going to post this afterwards, but all of those who are watching tonight, counseling is not a bad word. It is what we need to, as she stated, it goes hand in hand with our spiritual walk. We need counseling as well. And so we need to make sure on this year that we do the best and to get the best in what we need to push us to our next level. It's been a long year, and what I understand in the news that as the year begin to change and things switch over, that we may need to shut down 100 more days. And people mental state, we need to deal with people mental state because of the fact of a lot of things went on, and probably a lot of things went on in their lives, and a lot of things may have went into their relationship, their job, their health. And one thing I want to talk about is kick it off is how to deal with rage, how to deal with it, and how we can put it in perspective, and how we can be able to, talk ourselves down for being overly angry about anything. Anything can set us off.
Yeah, so immediately from a spiritual perspective, I'm reminded of the scripture that says, anger and sin not. And so one of the things that can be really easy to get caught up in is just the anger just overtakes you. And so you got to find yourself in a space where you can use some type of coping mechanism to help you. If you find yourself in a place of rage, there's a technique that I teach people. It's called Stop, Think, and Act. And it's a part of what's called the cognitive behavioral therapy approach, where you pause and you're thinking about, what do I need to do next? And the very first step is stop. Don't move your mouth. Don't move your body. Close your eyes.
That's good.
Because it shuts off the visual. And I think that sometimes we need to shut off the visual. We need to shut off what's coming into our ears. Because sometimes that when you just think about it, as soon as the thought comes into your mind, if you know it's going to be too tough for you to handle, go ahead and pause real quick. Because if you stop, then you can actually think about, why am I this angry? What has triggered this anger like this for me? And then once you can think about what it is that has triggered that anger for you, you can shut that off too.
That's good. That's real good. So you said the first thing that you teach is to stop, think, and then act. That's good. Stop, think, and then act when we feel that rage come on us. Now, another question I want to ask you is our men. Things have changed. You know, sometimes women can balance, and we'll get a little bit into that. But our men, because they don't show it on the outside all the time, they are introverts, and they deal with it, suppress it, don't let it out until it gets to a peak that something gotta be done, and they take it out the other way, or they may blame the other partner or blame whatever that is it what they're doing at that point. How can we help our husbands or our friends or our significant others get over the point of withdrawalness? Maybe they can't go to work and socialize with their friends, with other men. How can we help them to be able to adapt to what we call now situation? How can we help them, friend, to be able to adapt to that and to adjust?
Well, one thing I know for sure, practically speaking, we got to create safe space for men. And our society is set up in such a way that men have been socialized to not express emotion. And that was not God's intent for man. God didn't teach us to suppress. And that was a societal norm that was established to oppress people, especially when we look at people of color. We look at how suppression was used quite often. You don't express your emotions out loud. When you're on the job, you don't respond in certain ways. You don't do things a certain way. Right. So now that some of our men are home, they're not working because their jobs are shut down. They don't have a space where they can at least process that with other people. So it's our responsibility as those people who are in their lives to encourage them and uplift them, to create a space that's safe for them to do that. Welcome them. Hey, you know what, babe? I know this has been really hard. If you ever want to talk to me about it, or if it's your brother, or if it's your uncle, if it's your dad, your godfather, whoever it is, create that space. If it's a friend, make it okay for them to do that with you. Also, guys, still can do things together. Like let's go to the park, hang out. Let's go to like a meeting area that's like safe. Let's go to a parking lot. Bring our good food. Pull out a grill or something. Sit around. Like I've seen it where and this. We'll probably be able to use this to address some other pieces as well. But park your cars in a circle. That's your distance. You ain't got to sit on the back of your vehicle and space out, but let them that'll be that space that they have where they can go, and that's their space. They don't have to share that with anybody, because guys need space too. I think even more so sometimes than women, because the weight of how they're built is so heavy for them sometimes.
And you know what, too, Fran, the good part, we have to be able to balance when they shut down, not create argument, or you don't act like the way you used to act, or what's wrong with you? See, I knew you want to pull away from your family. It's not that. Men needs that communication, and they process things differently, women, than what we do. And we have to really as not only pray for them, but make sure that we are connected to their feelings and be able to adjust, or be able to balance, or check and see where they at for that moment. And not just only that, guys, we have to make sure the whole house, as a wife or as a girlfriend, whatever, wherever you are, that you check the house to make sure the house is at a good, I'm gonna say, temperature, because the temperature can be high in issues, or the temperature can be low, as is normal. So we need to check the normalcy of what's going on. Excuse me.
Yeah, I totally agree. And sometimes that comes with checking yourself.
Oh, God. That is good.
Because what you were talking about is like that nitpicking thing. You got to figure out what's going on with you. If you see your significant other, or whoever it is in your life that's important to you, going through a hard time, you have to be able to check what's going on with you first, so then you can get yourself in alignment and okay with where you need to be before you approach that person. Because here's the fact of the matter: you're not going to be able to be helpful to them if you are not in a good headspace. And I think sometimes when we see people going through things, when we see people experiencing things, our first inclination is just to jump right there, just jump right on it. What's wrong with you? Why you acting like that? Wait a minute. Check yourself. Like, pause. Take a moment. It's going to be okay. Then you go in and check on them.
And you know what? And we have to also realize that it's not all about us. And I think sometimes in this, we pull up selfishness, and we have to really check. It's like you say, we have to analyze ourselves to make sure that we're in a good place, so that we'll be able to be at our best for others.
That's right.
Yeah. And sometimes, friend, we feel like that, what about me? And not only just dealing with our loved ones, but we need to make sure our children. And I'm going to tell you, things have changed. And it's just not what it used to be. It's not the norm anymore. The norm has gone. This is our reality at this moment. And when this reality ends, I can't tell you. But it has allowed us in this reality to let us know where we are, who we are, and where we need to be. We had to deal with relationships, our marriages, wherein they would come home, you would get up in the morning, you go to work, I ain't got to deal with that. But now that's no more. You got the issue facing you right there, and dealing with our children staying home, wherein 8 hours they gone. You know what I'm saying? So there's your Selah. But now they're in. And so you have to get a new way of having your moment by yourself. And yes, you got a lot of those friends who has opened up businesses and all that stuff. And so we got to be able to balance everything till the balance can become overwhelming. And to the point that stress sets in. Mentally, you're not checked in. We can go on neutral, to the point that neutral is the now normal.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. It's so easy to just check out because it just seems so easy to do that instead of like have to do all the stuff. It's just like so easy. I'm just going to tap out. But you can't.
But people don't know you tapped out.
But people don't know because we get used to operating on autopilot.
That's right.
Because we know how to do all the things. You ever driven home before and you don't know how you got home? It was the grace of God that you got home safely. It was the grace of God that you even made it to your house safe. You don't know, but that speaks to a space of I'm tapped out and I know how to do. My body knows how to do the things that I need to do. So automatically my brain has got me doing it. But emotionally, spiritually, I'm tapped out. We cannot, in this space and time, we can't afford to just tap. We need to have planned, intentional times of rest.
That's true.
And even I think about even our consecration this year has to do with recharging, recommitting. And one of the first things that it checked me because it reminded me that sometimes I'm just going. There is no pause. It's always go, go, go. You have to take it sometimes. You're just going to have to take it. And you got to say, I need a break. You got to look for resources outside of yourself. That's where family comes in. That's where friends come in. That's where all those other resources. We got to look around and see what's available to us. We got to look around and see, because sometimes we just get so entrenched in whatever it is we're dealing with that we don't look up and look around to see what resources do we have available to us to help us to walk this space so that we don't just tap out, because the truth of the matter is we still have things that have to be done, but we got to be able to balance it. And that's where, for me, my spirituality helps me, and my connection to God and my relationship with God helps me, because if I can get in a moment of worship, when I can get in that space where nothing else matters, then when I come out of that space, I see everything so differently. And so that's where you got to bring in the spiritual component. It's more than just using these tangible, practical things. I got to tap into the spirit so he can refresh me. And
that's when I always say, you just got to cut everything off and step away. Phones needs to be shut down. And since we are looking at YouTube and everything, they got praise and worship right on YouTube. You can sit there and go into a worship and go into a praise and just start beginning to thank God that everybody that in my house I'm checking on, they okay, God. And so therefore I just praise you. You hear me, guys? Therefore, you look at the things in your home. Step back. Yeah, it's been a crazy year. But if we just step back and look at everything that we got in our home, children is okay, our dog is okay, hubby is okay. God, I just thank you. My lights are still working. And God, if I look at my freezer, I got 1 or 2 pieces of neck bones and shrimps and some fish that I can fry. God, I thank you for supplying all my needs. God, I can't get out there but and shop like I want to, or go get me some ice cream, or do whatever, or just take a walk in the park without wearing a mask. But God, I thank you. I thank you for the life. I think I'm able to still get up and breathe and live and have my being in you, and not even I'm dealing with health issues, but God, I'm still here. God, I thank you.
And you know what? When you talked about that, brought me right back to that rage piece that we talked about at the beginning. We gotta learn to understand that God is a God of justice. He is a God of truth. He is a God of order. He is a God that will set things in place. So when that rage tries to overtake you, you gotta remind yourself, God, you are a just God. And so whatever is happening in this world that does not look like you, when it looks like people are
getting away with doing evil and wrong against other people. God, I thank you that you are the God who is just. You will meet us right where we are and help comfort our hearts. God, this anger and this rage is trying to overtake me. I need you to come and comfort me. I need you to come and help me, God, with this anger. I am angry, but God, you are the God that can take care of it all. You are just, and you will, in your time, bring about justice.
We have the greatest example is David. When David got mad, when David got angry and started doing not the things of God, but he started doing the opposite. But then he turned around and say, wait a minute, hold on. He came to himself. And I think at some point in our own walk of being angry and upset and feel like we're distant, we got to come back to ourselves. And he realized, God, I know that you're not answering me at this moment, but I know you're there. I know you still keeping me. I know you still providing me. I know you're my keeper. I know you my provider. I know you make ways out of no ways. I know that you are the great gifted one. I know that you my healer. And see, you got to start saying that, guys. And sometimes when you get into your mirror, go into your bathroom and look in the mirror and start saying, God, I thank you for creating me. God, I thank you for just calling me out. God, I thank you for this moment. God, I thank you for Shajuan. I thank you for what you have done for me. God, I thank you for the gifts that you have given me. God, I thank you that you have allowed me to encourage others. Now, God, is me that is standing in the need of prayer. And I'm telling you, when you do that, God will come and see about you. It is not always on your time. It is on his time. And when it's on his time, it's always the right time.
The right time. And another focus we've been having during this time of consecration is when we make room for God, then he will come in. He says, here I stand at the door and knock. If you open the door, I'll come in and sup with you. If you draw close to me, I'll draw close to you. We got to get rid of some of these things that are in. And I think sometimes one of the things that can help decrease that rage is to decrease our intake of news and media and all these things, because we are constantly exposed to it. It's being fed right into our spirits. It's being fed right into our minds. And now we are consumed with these things. And I think that we have to be very intentional about not watching certain things. It's funny. My husband can tell you sometimes I don't know half of what's going on in the world. And sometimes I'm embarrassed because I don't know. But the news, I know for me, I can't be watching CNN all day. I can't have that in my background. I can't be listening to talk radio all the time.
That's true.
I got to even watch what music I listen to, because sometimes that feeds the rage.
That's right.
You know, when we look at the news and we see all these people whose lives are unjustly taken or whatever the case is, and just poverty and just different things that are happening in the world, or sex trafficking, all those types of things. It just weighs on, and it makes you, it can feed that rage. So we got to be able to take a step back from it, be able to ask God, you give me the wisdom for maybe how I can help in these areas. So at least I can use this anger in a productive way. Exactly. Not just be angry, but let it be something that, God, you give me, when I feel like this, give me something that I can do to help in some small, even if it's something small, just being able to help can decrease and turn that heat down on that anger.
That's right. And then we also have to communicate with our children, because our children is no longer, again, in the Hampton Roads. Some have, even in the private sector, in Hampton Roads, the private schools, they're closed. And we have to be able to keep that communication open. Go into your children's room and sit down and talk with them to see where they at mentally and their mental state. Go into your daughters and your son's room. Don't say, oh, this is their space and I don't go into that. That's connected to your home.
That's your house.
Yeah.
And you got to be able to set that order even for them. Give them their space. Give them their privacy.
Exactly.
They do need time to themselves just like everybody else.
Yeah.
But as the parent, as the person that's the guardian of your home, you got to check it because you don't know what has infiltrated in their bedroom because you have not checked. You have not opened the door and said, hey, babe, listen, let's talk.
Yeah.
Let's pray. What's on your heart?
That's right.
All of that. What's bothering you? Talk to me. You got to invade their space sometimes.
And I agree with that. You have to engage because they have computers in their room. And that's the same way it may poison you. The same thing can poison your children. That it will turn your children. The enemy has an opportunity to get into their minds. And so that's why we have to constantly ask God to protect our minds, to create a clean heart and renew the right spirit of who He is, the right spirit of Him. And so that should be our prayer, to connect. Stay connected with your children, even if you have to have, it's getting cold now, so you still can go outside in your backyard, build a tent, put a little heat in there, heat unit in there, so that y'all can act like, imagine. I used to tell Dry, when you read books, you can read books and never been to Italy, but you read about it, and you know the population, what's going on, what they cook, what they eat, how they make stuff, and how they celebrate. You may never ever go to Italy, but you can read on it just like you have been there, because reading is a trip, because it will take you to places that you ain't never been before. And so therefore, ask them, talk about it, and then you can do skits in the house, do a play or cook that day, dealing with Italy food. Be creative. It is a moment for us. And not only, it has not turned out, friend, to a bad thing. It turned out to a good thing. It has gotten us back to dealing with family, getting at the table like mama used to do, like grandma used to do, and cooking food, getting back into the process, and then being able to help our children to be able to cook. You know, we got some cooks, we got some young cooks out there now, some young chefs out there now, and they are really creative. It is now rekindling things that we have put on the shelf and rekindling our relationship, our marriage. Marriages is even better, whether it's a choice that you must push on. And yes, there have been some divorces in the midst of this situation, but most importantly, the positivity side of it. People are getting to know themselves and who they are, I think, a little bit better, because listen, when we work what you call in the norm, we were busy. That's right. Never had time. We never had time for the children. We'll drop them off somewhere, and we'll just keep going. We keep going to the next meeting. We keep going to the next whatever else service. And yeah, you're right. To the next service as well. And so this is a moment. And let me just say this too, y'all. The world says the church has shut down. The church is you. Wherever I go, I carry the church. So the church never closed, because you can go wherever. You can go into the bathroom, you can sit at a dinner table, and you can go into a praise and have church. And church is where the gathering, where we gather together and encourage each other and hear a word. But when you leave those doors, you still carrying the church. Oh, the church ain't closed. The devil is a liar. The church ain't closed, because wherever you carry your body, if you go to the doctor's office, you still carrying the church with you. So don't let that put into your spirit. You just still say, God, I thank you. I pray for my leader. I pray for the government. I pray for my pastor, those in the congregation. I pray for the seasoned saints. I pray for the mothers of the church. I pray for the pastor wives. Don't forget us. Don't forget about us. But I'm so glad we had this chit chat. It is such needed, so needed for such a time as this, that the conversation of battling, those who are still battling with mental health issues, and they can't grasp, and those who didn't think they had mental issues, they coming to find out because they're in seclusion that it was been there all along. It shows up. And so at the final, I'm gonna give you the final last words that will encourage all of my sisters, all of my brothers, all of the pastor wives, all of the pastors that is out there, that is battling, that is having mental issues, or maybe you bipolar and you didn't know it because you was putting your energy and working things out, constantly put yourself, but now you have to slow it down, and your bipolar issues may have taken over, depression, scaredness, anxiety, and all that stuff. And some of them are not making those doctor's appointments, getting their pills that they need. And some of them are not going back to the doctors because they feel like they're not getting any help. Hold on. Because along with the word of God, you can take your medicine. You
use wisdom. And I think what you're talking about is using that wisdom. God made it all. Like, God gives man wisdom to create things that can be helpful for life. Now I understand that, some people have a complex with taking medication, or they don't really understand what it's for, or especially when it comes to our mental health. But, some of the same people will take the medication for your physical health. So if you're going to take medication for physical health issues to help bring things into alignment, why not for your mental health? The idea is the same. Yeah. The principle is the same. It's supposed to be helping to bring something into alignment. Right. Now, I am a proponent of, if you don't have to, then you can do things to change your diet. So you don't necessarily have to all the time. So we got to even be mindful to do some research on our own. What are some foods I can eat to help me feel better in my physical body and mentally? How can I change my water intake? Because sometimes I'm edgy and irritable because I haven't had enough water. That's true. So we even think about, different things that we can do. And God has given us the wisdom that we need to have things better in our lives. And I think that when we tap into that, we can do great things. But counseling has been one of the hallmarks of my life that has personally been helpful to me. I am a counselor. I tell anybody I'm a counselor. I love Jesus, and I have my own counselor. So I think we got to normalize it, because it's a space where we can be helped, where we can process those things and deal with things the way, all those issues, all those challenges that you talked about. That's a space for you and you alone to deal with. And they even offer telehealth services where you can find a space in your home and you can do it from your phone or your laptop. Find a room in your house where you feel comfortable doing your counseling. Do it from your house. Let's
repeat that, those, as you stated. We can do counseling from our home. As Fran just said, move into a secret place or a quiet place and have one-on-one counseling online. Guys, just like what friend was saying, get into a secret place or a quiet place in your home, and whether it's your husband, your wife, or your children, they may need counseling, that you can get them counseling from their computer. And that's good right there. That's what we need to know in our community, is that you don't always have to go into the office, but you can do it online. And I'm gonna tell you, if you have had any devastation, like what happened in Virginia Beach, and if you haven't gone to counseling for that, the devastation that happened last year, you need to get some help. If you're pressing on your children and you just need it, and you checking on them 10 to 12 times, right out the back to back, you need to get some counseling. If you feel withdrawn, and you just can't get it together, because sometimes we can't get it together, we can't put it in perspective. You need to go and get some counseling, and don't be afraid. Just call online, go into your office where you make things happen, and go online and to get some help. Now, what type of, because I know there are different types of counseling, because I know you got the SAVE counseling that does it biblically, and then you have just the regular way of counseling, I guess.
So there are different approaches to therapy and counseling, and so one of the things that you keep in mind, you can do it through the secular realm, or you can do it from a spiritual perspective. And so there are counselors who offer counseling services through a Christian perspective, myself being one, but I also offer services from a secular perspective as well, for those who don't necessarily ascribe to the same spirituality I ascribe to, or at all. And so I can still provide that for them, but it's different methods. And what you do is there's a website that I refer people to often, psychologytoday.com. You can go on there, plug in the city where you live, and even though you're not going into the office, you can still find people that are local and close, who can provide those telehealth services. You can look on their profiles, so you see pictures of them, and so that's helpful, so you can see, because maybe you need it from a certain cultural or ethnic background to help you, because sometimes we just feel more supported when there's somebody sitting across from us who looks like us. That doesn't mean that someone else whose skin doesn't have quite as much melanin as ours does cannot be helpful to us. But sometimes it's easier to relate to that person. It feels easier, like you could connect with them better. So it allows you to see their profile. It allows you to see what services they provide, what areas of focus do they work from. It allows you to see what method of therapy, what approaches, like I talked about, cognitive behavioral approach earlier. There's also person-centered, where we walk with you in your journey. We don't tell you which way to go as you're processing things. We just kind of let you lead, and you tell us where you want to go with processing things. There's trauma-focused therapy, and I think that's a type that we need.
Say it again.
Trauma-focused therapy. And I believe with all the losses, like on so many levels, there was so many levels of loss in 2020, not just with the loss of life, people's lives, but employment, ways of living, our norms that we were used to. That's a huge loss, and those types of losses can be traumatic, especially when they happen, like you said, back to back to back. You need a space where you can process all those things, and so there's trauma-focused therapy. There's so many different approaches to therapy, but that resource, psychologytoday.com, lets you actually go online to see people's profiles, and even you can access psychiatrists, who's the people that prescribe medication to help you with mental health challenges as well, to help regulate those processes in your body, that type of thing. So there's even the same process for that. You can plug in the city where you live, and in the drop down box next to that, you can select psychiatrists, and you'll bring up resources for psychiatrists. So that's one of my favorite resources for people to refer them to help them get started on their journey.
And so as we close, I just want to encourage all of our daughters and our sons, my sister and my brother. I want to encourage you we have talked today on dealing with mental health in all aspects of our lives, from dealing with depression down to trauma. And now, as Fran has stated, that we can also have private counseling in our very own home. And so this year, as we walk into this great year of 2021, we want to do better, be better, and be at our best. Be alert and aware of our surroundings and what's happening to our own bodies. Stay connected in who we are and how our body function, and so that we can get the best help. Listen, this is a year. And friend, I just want to thank you. You just don't know how much this meant to me, because when we help a sister and brother in our own community, we can better our community to be at its best. And so with that, my sisters, I love you to life, and God bless you tremendously. I'll be back next week, and I want you to know that I love you and there is nothing you can do about it. Okay, for now. Bye-bye.